The main character's name is Liang Chu, who accidentally crossed over to this great Shun world, a place where water monsters are revered as gods. Due to carelessness, he was captured by a group of cultivating immortals to be used as bait for the water monsters. In the moments when his life could only be counted on one hand, he awoke a top-notch system. Thanks to it, he was able to make a pact with any ancient divine beast he encountered. Moreover, his power grew exponentially as a result. But was everything really as easy as he thought? Behind the system, there was actually another being manipulating things. Alright, no more beating around the bush, let's get to the main content. It begins in an endless vast space, with mountains, rivers, flowers, and trees, in short, a land that is incredibly beautiful and poetic. Anyone who likes to raise fish or grow vegetables should come here to live. While relaxing, suddenly a loud voice called out from the middle of the space, "Wade." As the view got closer, beside the reeds, "Wade." The voice became hesitant, "What are you doing?" In front was a young man facing away, so only his long brown hair tied neatly could be seen. A strong wind rose, blowing his long hair and making it sway. At the same time, a perfectly handsome face emerged, radiant and dazzling, capturing the admiration of many girls. He stood still, letting the breeze wrap around him, looking carefree and charming. An old man who resembled him in many ways turned around and smiled at him, "You fool, why are you just standing there?" He seemed to wake up, tilting his head, "Dad." His eyes sparkled like a puppy's, who could bear to look away from such a scene? The old man affectionately ruffled his hair, clearly showing tenderness, "Fool, you don't recognize your dad anymore." He stood there blankly, letting the man ruffle his hair while staring intently at him, "Hurry up." The old man pointed to the sky and proudly said, "Come help me with the nets, let's see how much we caught today, I'll show you my skills in a bit." He remained still in the breeze. Each strong gust that passed made that puppy-like face even more attractive. "Okay, coming." Once he broke free from his daze, he ran to his father. The two of them headed toward the small fishing hut docked by the riverbank. What followed was a delightful fishing session between the ordinary father and son. The fresh fish were quickly caught amidst the father's excitement. His gaze at his father was filled with admiration. The two of them shared unforgettable moments. He got pinched on the leg by a crab, the pain was unbearable, but his father only stood there laughing heartily. Indeed, a father's love is as steadfast as Tai Shan, though he didn't know where Tai Shan was, he only saw the plain. Soon after, he retaliated against his father. While his father was eating grilled fish, he struck him hard in the belly, nearly causing him to choke on a fishbone. It seemed that a son's affection could also be quite cold. The two even carved into wooden trunks, scrawling random drawings, appearing to be utterly engrossed, not bad at all. The peaceful moment passed second by second until late that afternoon. The red light spilled down, making the scenery dreamy. Each of them had a blade of betel leaf in their mouth, leisurely sitting and watching the sunset. The father affectionately stroked his son's head, showing clear signs of fondness. Suddenly, he looked down into the water and saw a red fish. They silently stared at each other for a while. It was indeed a moment of eye contact, drunkenness that lasted a lifetime. He saw the fish gradually trying to escape and shouted out unexpectedly, "Red carp, don't run." Before his father had a chance to think, he jumped into the water to chase after it. Under the surface, every movement became more difficult. He held his breath, focusing on swimming forward. His hands flailed wildly in the vast water. "Ha!" The fish disappeared. Why are there no fish underwater? However, he did not give up and continued to dive deeper. This is strange, why can't I move in the water? Just when he started to feel his body unable to withstand the pressure, he gritted his teeth, "Damn it, I can't move at all." His thoughts gradually became fragmented. Bubbles slowly floated before his eyes, the darkness closing in. Save me, Dad," he shouted, beginning to search for his father. The night was quiet, the moon hung overhead, the boat gliding through the waves. He slowly regained consciousness after the dream, dazedly calling for his father. There were still some dirt stains on his body and face. In response, it was not the gentle familiar voice of his father, but a cold, different voice. "Oh, you're awake." He snapped to attention, looking incredulously at the two figures before him. His hands and feet were tightly bound, making it hard to move. Two of them, one named the cruel old man Lai Tu Zhang. He looked at him with a sneer. "Missing your father, huh?" The other one looked like a wandering young master, casually turning away without saying a word. He was Zhang Lord. He looked down at his tightly bound hands, feeling a bit confused, and struggled to ask, "What are you doing?" He appeared extremely naive. He. Lai Tu Zhang laughed without answering him, but turned to flatter the young master beside him. As expected, Zhang Lord is clever, tricking this little brat to lead the way, actually to use him as bait for the monster underwater. The three of them stood on a small boat, cutting through the waves to reach the middle of the river. The dark night provided good cover for shady and improper dealings. At that moment, Lai Tu Zhang turned to look at him, who was sulking, and smirked. "We're here to help you block the wind, while you sleep soundly." He snapped back to reality, looked down into the boat's hold, his eyes filled with disbelief, and exclaimed, "So it turns out, it's just a dream. That makes sense." He began to recall everything. "I've been in this world for a month now. The original owner passed away due to a sudden illness. I come to this world to replace him. His former self was not only sick but also poor, dying under an old blanket. The original master was born without a mother, only having a father by his side raising him. That is the same father who accompanied him in memories. 3 months ago, he passed away from a cold. But the feelings that remain in the heart belong to me. Although the body is not mine, the memories and emotions are still real." The two of them also experienced many beautiful moments together. "These are feelings I have never gone through." He began to recall his past life. He had to die in a lonely and sad state in the hospital, seeing others being cared for by their families while he could only wish for it. "After a month, I still do not understand the relationships of the original master. As a result, I was deceived by Lai Tu Zhang, becoming bait to hunt monsters." He looks ahead. The boat is still sailing downstream. In a place that was supposed to be calm water, there are actually undercurrents at the bottom of this river. "Having crossed over here for a month, I discovered that this world possesses extraordinary powers. Similar to the young master and a sycophant who follows him. Humanity can achieve incredible realms through cultivation, and those who embark on this path are known as martial artists. The cold and taciturn Lord Zhang, who is extremely despicable, is one of them. As for the beings in this world, in addition to humans who can cultivate to evolve, other animal species can also cultivate. A typical example is the monster lurking at the bottom of the river, and such creatures are often referred to as." Before he could finish his thoughts, Lord Zhang suddenly said anxiously, "It's coming, the water monster." Lai Tu Zhang showed clear signs of fear as he looked at it, seeming to have a bold tongue but not much courage. Sweat dripped down his forehead, and he looked worried. Slowly, he turned his head to look at it. A crescent shape appeared beneath the water, surrounding the boat, blocking it from moving further. A huge creature thrashed violently, causing the small boat to sway. The three people on the boat shook violently. Lord Zhang bit his lip in fear. "It's over, wasn't it said that the water monster is only half a person tall? Damn it, it's too big." He swore. But what is the use when that enormous creature had already stomped on the boat, causing everyone to gawk in shock, trembling like leaves. It had a long body, and apart from scales, it had fearsome spines. "Come over here," Wade said, trembling as he stood up, huddling inside. Zhang Lord paid no attention to him, only feeling frustrated over the faulty intel. He tried to remain calm and observe it, stepping halfway into the water, searching for an opportunity. Finally, the moment arrived. "For years, I have been waiting for this moment." He raised his hand, preparing to strike, boldly proclaiming, "A decade of hard training, one punch to shake the galaxy." With that, he swung his fist toward the water, shouting menacingly, "This punch carries the power of 10 years, can you withstand it?" The creature surged up, opening its wide mouth like a crocodile, wanting to swallow him whole. Its disgusting green eyes and sharp fangs made Zhang Lord appear as a mere morsel within the creature's mouth. With a loud crash, the beast lunged, biting the boat in half, let alone Zhang Lord himself. The power was truly terrifying. The people on the boat were all thrown off. After showcasing its power, the monster flicked its tail and swam away, leaving Wade gasping as he clung to a floating log alongside the ashen-faced Lai Tu Zhang, who sat on the boat that was now half submerged. He trembled uncontrollably, his words filled with fear that he couldn't hide. I can't die here. Suddenly, he seemed to realize something and turned his head sharply to look at you. You also gasped, looking up at him. It's over. This disaster hadn't ended, and another calamity was approaching. He wanted to use you as bait, quickly picked up a small knife, and stabbed it into your hand, the red blood flowing out to attract the monster. After that, he didn't hesitate, kicking you down into the depths of the water. Blood kept pouring out rapidly, mixing with the water, while you were exhausted and sinking deeper. Your hands were tied together, and you couldn't move if you wanted to. Water flowed into your mouth, bubbles gurgling. You struggled to turn, gulp, help, gurgle, cough. Only in times of disaster do we reveal our true strength. He pressed his lips together, using his teeth to bite through the rope that was binding him in order to find a way to save himself. The monster had then tracked him down by the smell of blood, as he was suspended in the water. It was a dark beast, slowly approaching its prey. He was nearly exhausted, relaxing his body, drifting with the current. This is not good. His vision gradually blurred until it was completely dark. A sweet voice called out again in that thick darkness. Wade. He struggled to open his eyes, his father appearing before him with a worried expression. He tried to shake him awake, while gently scolding, Wade, you fool, wake up. Dad. His gaze gradually became incredibly weary, unable to distinguish between what was real and what was a dream. If this is real, how wonderful it would be. He reached out his hand toward his father, allowing him to take it, pulling him up from the cold water. In the illusion, the two of them had nearly touched each other's hands, able to save one another from the water. Suddenly, he reached out forcefully, using all his strength to break the surface, gripping his father's arm. In reality, he also grasped the floating piece of wood. Risking it all, he held on tightly without letting go. Huff. Finally, he was able to escape the perilous situation, surfacing from the water, free from the fear of drowning. But suddenly, as if realizing something, he opened his eyes wide, the boat of his father. The splashing sound became clearer, and the monster was approaching him ever closer. Although he could die, he was still determined to regain his memories with his father. He let go of the log and dove deeper. As soon as he released his grip, he felt all his strength drain away as if something was pulling him down to the deep lake. No, sputtered gurgling. He worriedly looked towards where the boat had sunk. Above him the monster hovered as if waiting to devour him. Very quickly, the monster reached the edge nearby. It circled around, catching hold of him who was sinking deeper. A person and a monster continued to swim downwards into the river's depths. In the vast expanse of the water, I tried my best. He struggled to keep himself awake, but it seemed impossible. He could only sink deeper. Father. His vision blurred, his hand waved aimlessly in the air. I'm sorry. I sincerely apologize. Before he could finish his sentence, a sharp pain shot up from his lower back. The monster had rammed its head into him, sending him crashing hard to the bottom of the river. His whole body throbbed with pain. It pounced on him, its mouth wide open, revealing sharp teeth and fierce, glinting eyes. He shut his eyes tightly, trying to escape the terrifying fear before him. Right in front of him, the monster's mouth gaped open wide. It lunged at him, just a hair's breadth away from swallowing him whole. At this moment, he had nowhere left to run. His entire body felt incredibly weary, his eyes tightly closed, his hands limp, accepting his fate. Suddenly, something appeared above his head. In the midst of the water, it resembled an intricately carved antique table, and strange symbols began to emerge around it. Wade was lifted high by the foam of the water. He was still in a daze, unaware of what was happening to his body. The swamp summit was being activated, having detected the ability to collect swamp spirit, once successfully gathered, it could awaken the power of water mastery. A carved table with strange shapes appeared in the water. It floated in the air, and at the same time, blue glyphs appeared. You can collect the water monkey swamp spirit collecting. Collection complete. Refine successful. Awakening. Body restoration in progress. At this moment, he groggily woke up from his dream. His eyes slowly opened, and he realized his situation underwater, struggling to breathe. Didn't I die? Died in the water. Memories from before he fainted rushed back. A creature resembling a crocodile opened its wide mouth wanting to eat him. He could not avoid its jaws. Underwater, he struggled with all his might to swim up and escape the surface for air. No matter what, living is the most important. He flailed his arms in confusion as he felt something strange. Why does it feel like I'm walking on land in the water? It seems like the resistance has vanished. What is this? A notification board appeared before him. Water manipulation ability successfully acquired, consuming stamina to control the water. A streak of shimmering blue bubbles appeared in his palm. It wrapped around his finger, the water spirit. He watched the water weaving around him, secretly skeptical. Even breathing. Finally, after digesting everything, he suddenly realized, surprisingly, I can still breathe underwater, and the wounds on my body have healed. He looked down at his palm, where the old man had stabbed him before. At that moment, without him noticing, a pair of angry green eyes rushed straight towards him from behind. It opened its wide mouth towards him again, trying to finish what it had started, to devour him. Wade then noticed its presence, panicking and turning around. He raised his hand to shield his body, fearfully shrinking back. When he felt that what he needed did not come, although anxious inside, he slowly opened his eyes. He saw in front of him, the gentle water that had wrapped around him was now extremely powerful. It surged forward, tightly binding the monster, preventing it from advancing. The monster could do nothing, thrashing in the water. He stared in amazement at the scene before him. Are these currents created by me? This can't be the system that novels often mention, can it? He looked at the announcement board that had been appearing before him and quietly thought about this possibility. After all, he was a crossover, and there were unexpected things that could happen. So, in this country, we are no longer limited. He was somewhat skeptical but still tried to speculate, we might even be able to control it. This is truly a stroke of luck. It has really saved his life. While he was still pondering his abilities, the monster was thrashing around, nearly breaking the water restraints binding it. This is bad, the control has a time limit. Watching the monster struggle and the water streams nearly disappearing, he was filled with worry. After escaping its restraints, the creature became ferocious once again, lunging forward as if to bite him. But it fell for the trap, only able to bite the flowing water, while he quickly jumped higher. If this goes on, it won't end well. He was dodging its attacks, wondering if there was a way to control it. As soon as he didn't know what to do to completely escape, the notification board reappeared in front of him. The ability to master blood runes has been successfully acquired. Effect: through the blood of another subject, the ancient runes can establish a contract with water beasts. This is it. He smiled at it, feeling incredibly lucky. Standing in front of the raging monster below, he felt calmer, no longer avoiding it as before. It whipped its tail hard, propelling itself forward like lightning, charging toward his position. The monster's mouth opened wide, ready to devour him whole. He gathered his energy, a long thin stream of water wrapped around his body, gently controlling the flow. He released his hand and sent the stream of water again to bind the monster tightly, preventing its movement. First, he needed to control it. As the monster opened its mouth and advanced, it was yanked backward. The long stream of water wrapped tightly around its body, making it impossible for it to advance normally. It struggled and roared with all its might. Perhaps its efforts could be useful. It broke free from the binding rope and charged forward quickly. He leaned to one side to escape. His hand glowed with a red light, revealing a strange inscription like a spell, blood seal on the chest. The bright red inscription blazed, gathering like a piece of paper appearing in his hand. He quickly charged upwards, pressing the piece of paper onto the top of the monster's head. Caught off guard by the sudden attack, the monster was extremely alert. It thrashed violently, causing his body to shake as well. However, determined to tame the creature, he refused to give up and clung to it. One eye turned red, with blood vessels showing, so, this is a battle of mental strength. His eye lit up, and more blood vessels appeared, turning terrifyingly red. Are you about to fail? His entire body trembled, seemingly on the brink of collapse, and the red eye gradually shifted to black. Memories flooded back to him once again. In his previous life, he had to lie in a cold hospital room, breathing through an oxygen tank. I must survive. The power of mental strength lifted him up once more, and a red talisman appeared in his hand. Tiny beast, submit to me. He firmly planted the talisman, which appeared in the space above, on the creature with a strong will. After a while, on the shore, with the moon hanging overhead, the scene seemed very peaceful, in stark contrast to the battle beneath the water. Wade slowly crawled up, rising from the surface. His whole body was drenched, exhausted as he dragged himself along. I'm alive, I'm alive. He took a deep breath, tilting his face to the sky to inhale the fresh air of life. From beneath his feet, from the lake, the creature slowly emerged, swimming slowly towards him. He sat up with a bright smile, extremely pleased. Of course, I have finally tamed this creature. He allowed it to approach him. The notification board appeared again. Peak Master, Liang Chu. Refined Swamp Spirit, Water Monkey White. Fusion Rate, 5%. Water Essence, none. Water Beast under control, Tai Hua Croc. Consume 80 points of Water Essence to evolve. Evaluation, Water Monkey Swamp Spirit, originating from the great host of the past, can trigger those who are flawed, with weak lives and shriveled forms. He pointed down at the empty ground beneath his feet. Don't worry, just stay here. If anything happens, I will call you later. The monster had shed its previous ferocity, its sparkling eyes looking at him. After taming it, we formed a spiritual bond and can communicate at any time. Or it can contact me. He sat on the patch of ground, legs crossed, watching the figure of the crocodile dive into the river, deep in thought. Once finished, he stood up and hummed, I have to go home to find some food and take a good rest. Fortunately, there was a map of this area in his memory, not too far from home. He walked briskly back, the scenery behind him both quiet and peaceful. Thus, the monster cut through the water and left, weaving through the grass. It headed towards a cave deep in the river. Inside the cave was a fairy tale scene with a beautiful, fragrant lotus pond. It went deeper inside. The next day, in the bustling market, while everyone was busy with their own tasks, a group of people was seen approaching from above. This is it. Zheng Butler. Zheng Butler is coming this way. Lai Tuzhang smiled and flattered as he followed a middle-aged man in a very extravagant manner. He had found a new master, wagging his tail behind him. Behind them were also two bodyguards following closely. People looked at the four in front, whispering, who are they? Are they going to Wade's house? Another person glanced over, Lai Tuzhang and the people from Xiao Mansion. What trouble has Wade gotten into now? A handsome young man standing behind them heard the entire conversation. He was Li Li Bo, childhood friend of Liang Chu, looking up with curiosity. Wade. His face showed clear signs of worry. Oh no, Wade is in trouble. The group quickly arrived in front of Wade's house. Leading them was Lai Tuzhang. He smirked maliciously. That kid Liang Chu is done for. His inheritance will be mine to handle, just in time to make up for the consequences of this mission's failure. Turning his head, his face displayed obvious anger. It's all because that Zhang guy is too weak. Scars had also appeared more prominently on his face. He unleashed all of his anger on Wade's door, kicking it down with a loud crash. Turning around, he quickly regained his smile and rubbed his hands together. Zheng Butler, please come in. Then he looked ahead and broke into a wicked grin. Suddenly, a shocking surprise hit him, and Lai Tuzhang's face went pale. Surprised, aren't you? He pointed straight at Wade, who had just woken up, still groggy and yawning in bed. You, why are you not dead? After stammering for a while, he finally managed to get a few words out. Wade calmly looked at them, asking, what are you doing? He barely opened his eyes, displaying a lazy demeanor. Lai Tuzhang stuttered, pointing at him, you are not dead. The gloomy Zhang butler appeared behind him, making him jump, and asked, what do you mean by dead or not dead? Why are you always in such a hurry and flustered? Lai Tuzhang turned around, smiling broadly and pointing into the distance, Zhang Lord, this is the man Liang Chu. Zhang Xiang smirked contemptuously and asked, oh, you are Liang Chu? I didn't expect you to be alive, truly, you are blessed by fate. Lai Tuzhang joined in, indeed, it's a disaster that can last 100 years. Zhang Xiang raised his hand to signal the subordinates behind him, take him down. The subordinates quickly grabbed Liang Chu. He panicked and shouted, what do you want to do? One subordinate, annoyed by his chatter, punched him in the stomach, keep it down. The old man looked at him with a pleased expression and explained, what are we doing? Humph. Master Xiao invited martial artists, including Lord Zhang, to deal with the water monster for the benefit of the villagers. Lai Tuzhang pointed at Liang Chu and scolded, and you dare to collude with the water monster to harm Lord Zhang, causing our Xiao mansion to lose such a large sum of money and putting the villagers in danger. Liang Chu, bloodied from the beating, struggled to say, it's clearly you guys, these people set a trap to catch me, using me as bait for the water monster. The old man leaned in close to him, speaking loudly spitting saliva, you dare to return after killing Lord Zhang, you are truly arrogant, you are a monster. Liang Chu fell into deep thought, recalling the memories from his previous life when everyone avoided him. Living alone in a world of my own, monster, in my past life I always lived in solitude, it's true that I am called a monster. Falsely accused of being a thief, constantly teased, if you have no parents, does everyone like to steal? Liang Chu bore the brunt of the loud laughter and ridicule from those around him, ha ha ha. He glanced at them in anger but felt helpless. The bully continued to taunt, oh, revealing the eyes of a monster again, if you have the guts, come at me. But being called a monster is because I am ruthless enough. Without hesitation, Liang Chu charged in and threw a punch, causing his opponent's face to distort, blood spewing from his mouth. Returning to reality, Liang Chu looked at them with a determined gaze, although I might reveal my abilities, surrendering is not my style right now. Liang Chu struggled fiercely. He flung a few subordinates away, then leaped high, causing the water basin to topple over. Sitting on the ground, Liang Chu thought to himself, even if I truly become the monster you claim, I will still take a bite out of you. He used his hands to absorb the spilled water. The river flowed along his arm upwards. Lai Tuzhang, having been pushed, clutched his chest and rushed over to complain, if you dare to make a move, I'm telling you this, Zhang Butler, let's just take him directly back to the Xiao mansion. The old man, full of schemes, convinced, aren't we lacking people to keep that thing? I think this orphan boy seems reasonable. Zhang Xiang also followed the old man's instigation, hey, if you agree to be the adopted son of Xiao Master, we can overlook the issue with Zhang Lord, otherwise, today I will chop off your leg. The villagers standing afar were gossiping after hearing this, is it that time again to adopt? I heard that people from the neighboring county, once they enter Xiao Mansion, there's never any news again. Xiao Mansion has really taken in quite a number of people recently, it's quite strange. While they were chattering, suddenly a loud voice echoed, startling everyone, let me see who dares to bully Wade here. Li Zhang limped in, threatening, old Li Zhang is still alive and well. Zhang Xiang questioned, pointing, old man, you're not dead, what about you? He was driven mad by him, shouting a long string of words, what do you mean by you? I am a person of authority in the Shun dynasty, what do you want to do? Are you planning to attack someone in office? He was silenced by the insults, stammering, I. Li Zhang was still furious, pointing directly and continuing to curse. What do you mean by I? Even your Xiao master should show me some respect. If you keep talking, I will take you down. Zhang Xiang, insulted like splashed by water, was furious but still tried to argue. You old man won't die. Then he darkened his face and exclaimed, Humph, old man, I won't settle this with you today. Wait until I go back and report this to Xiao master, it won't end here. Zhang Xiang scoffed and walked outside, let's go. Lai Tuzhang left, but turned back and said disdainfully, just like your father, you don't know good from bad. Then he turned away and left. Inside, Li Zhang looked at his brother sitting on the ground and advised, "Wade, there are some things, just avoid them a little." Liang Chu obediently replied, "Thank you, Li Zhang, Wade will remember your words." After finishing his words, he turned away with Li Bo. "Stop looking, disperse." Once everyone had left, Liang Chu looked at the arms surrounded by water and silently wondered, how many more times will such things happen in the future? Li Zhang can save me once, but he can't save me every time. At this moment, Li Zhang was quite far from his house. I need to be more proactive, this system is my opportunity. Liang Chu clenched his fist with determination. The system interface appeared, water essence detected. Pet evolution level increased by 0.1. Liang Chu stared blankly at the system interface, Water essence. The system interface now showed, gold, no text. Beast, immobilized. Swamp Summit, also known as Water Monkey. Fusion rate 5%. Wade stood in front of a small pond, placing his hand between his eyebrows. He seemed to be summoning something. After capturing that Taihua crocodile, I can summon it anytime through our mental link. At that moment, ripples gradually appeared on the water's surface as he stood before the pond, watching it form a small whirlpool. Suddenly, the waves rose up, swirling as if something large was about to appear. Right after that, a tiny crocodile surfaced on the shore. He crouched down, looking at it with questioning eyes. "Where is my big crocodile?" A line of information appeared, the aquatic creature that has been tamed can adjust its body size at will to manage energy consumption. Evolution level, +1. Chibi crocodile. Energy consumption, extremely low. He rubbed his chin in admiration, it even has this feature, no wonder it's a system. Wade turned to the crocodile and asked curiously, "Oh right, that water essence, where did you find it? Lead the way." Both jumped into the water. Wade swam after the crocodile. Beneath the deep waters, the crocodile led him to a cave full of moss. Wade pushed aside the seaweed blocking his path, silently assessing the cave. "It seems we have arrived in an underwater cave." He approached to take a closer look. "This place is absolutely magnificent." Deep inside the cave, which was very spacious, there were strange things emitting a faint golden light everywhere. He looked at those things, his mind continuously thinking. Could these be the legendary spiritual foods? He touched them. Immediately, the system's voice rang out, "Detected spiritual food containing water essence, please choose to absorb, master." This world indeed has extraordinary treasures that have absorbed superhuman powers, like a gigantic tomato or ancient plants. These plants with special effects are called spiritual foods. It is said that in the backyard of Xiao Mansion, there is a cold pond, and at the bottom of that pond, some unique roots grow. Master Xiao spends the whole year attracting martial artists as guests. He quickly picked each of them up, his face full of excitement. "I want to see how much water essence these spiritual foods can provide me." He looked at the small crocodile and playfully asked it, "By the way, do you have time to help me a little?" Immediately, the crocodile rolled over, playing dead, not moving at all. He was speechless, picking up the spiritual foods while complaining, "So lazy, I'll just call you immobilized." He climbed ashore with many spiritual foods. Wade lifted it up with great care. Finally, he didn't hesitate to take a bite out of it. A notification appeared, water essence detected that can be used to enhance the compatibility of the swamp spirit and the level of evolution of water beasts. He ate while praising, "So delicious." Then came a continuous stream of notifications, water essence +1, along with his frenzied eating. Wade ate until his belly was full. The notification board displayed, refined white water monkey swamp spirit, compatibility 7%. Water essence, none. Dominant water beast, Taihua croc. Consuming 800 points of water essence can evaluate for evolution. He looked at the notification board and contemplated, what about the compatibility of the swamp spirit and the level of evolution of the water beast? Prioritize advancing myself first. His finger pressed the add button. At that moment, his entire body glimmered with a pale blue light like a hidden tiger. Clearly, he could easily perceive that his body was rapidly enhancing. With these powers, facing those from before. I could definitely fight a battle. If only he added the power of the water stream. He looked at the bulletin board and then at the palm of his hand, where he was gathering strength from the water, and made a judgment. The ability to control the water stream has reached about 45 pounds. Next, he needs to accumulate a few more days. Today he probably won't be able to eat anymore. He leaned on his power and looked elsewhere. Wade slowly thought, right now, the most important issue is still the future economic situation. Autumn is almost over, and the alligators are now slowing down their circulation, about to enter hibernation, so fishing can't be relied on for now. Suddenly, a fish fell flat where he was standing. Wade looked at the fish and then at the small alligator slowly coming ashore. He brightened up, picked up the alligator, and continuously praised it, looking promising, looking promising. His mind wandered far away. Then this temporary economic crisis can be resolved, just need to take it to the market and sell it. The sunlight gradually appeared, and he happily held the money bag in his hand. A large goldfish can sell for 80 coins, that's a small profit. The merchants in this world cannot compare to the vegetable sellers in the market from the previous life, they are easily persuaded. He held the money bag, feeling anxious. Once I resolve the issue with the water essence, next is to find time to settle the score with Lai Tu-zhang thoroughly. At this moment, Lai Tu-zhang appeared out of nowhere, cheerfully greeting him. Hey! Isn't this Wade? Oh, a few days ago we had a little misunderstanding. I was just about to look for you to apologize. What a coincidence. He scratched his head and laughed awkwardly. My boat is nearby, let's have a nice meal together and clear up the misunderstanding. He enthusiastically pointed somewhere. Don't worry, it'll just be the two of us. On the surface, he was smiling brightly, but internally he had already plotted a scheme. Just the two of us, let's see where you can run. It seemed that he understood what the man was up to. Wade laughed and then replied, great, just the two of us, I feel very reassured. A notification appeared about the character's information, gold, 80 coins. Water beast, immobilized. Swamp summit, water monkey. Fusion level, 5%. On a quiet night, in a small yard behind the house, Lai Tu-zhang was crouching down on the tiled floor. In front of him was Xiao, dressed in brown, with his hands behind his back. He was surrounded by 3 men in matching light blue outfits, holding sticks in their hands. Xiao, with an ambiguous tone, said, recently, there have been problems in the experimental mansion, and quite a few people have died. He turned his sharp gaze back and said, the mansion is short on refining pill materials, and Liang Chu is an orphan with no relatives. Do you understand? Lai Tu-zhang, his face marked with scratches and beads of sweat, said, I understand. That kid Liang Chu definitely won't escape. Tomorrow, I will tie him up and bring him back. Xiang leaned his face close to Lai Tu-zhang, his cold eyes stating, if you do well, Master Xiao will also invite those great lords to help you become a deity. Lai Tu-zhang, with a face full of joy, said, really? Xiang tilted his head toward him, grinning slyly, of course it's true. He was so moved that his hands trembled as he said, I'm about to become a deity too. He tore off his shirt, revealing countless wounds on his body along with strange red characters, and then said, finally, it is almost complete. He looked up at the sky, his eyes wide open, shouting loudly, I am about to become an immortal. The scene shifts to a small boat where 2 men are sitting across from each other. On the table, there is a large bowl, and the water around is quite calm. Lai Tu-zhang is holding a spoon and stirring in that bowl. He looks at Liang Chu and says, Wade, look at the beautiful scenery here, there are no other boats around. While stirring with his spoon, he secretly drops a red pill into the bowl and says, we will have a delicious meal together, resolving all misunderstandings. Liang Chu gives him a questioning glance and asks, are you sure there are no other boats nearby? Lai Tu-zhang smiles, looking pleased, and says, of course, I have surveyed thoroughly. He imagines the scene of Liang Chu being poisoned, clutching his throat with froth forming at his mouth, thinking, of course, as long as you drink this fish soup, no matter how much you scream, no one will come to save you. Suddenly, Liang Chu stands up, a stream of water appearing in his hand, his sharp gaze fixed on him as he says, then that's good. Lai Tu-zhang's face turned pale as he exclaimed, Wade, you. Water had covered his entire face, and he raised his hands, his face growing paler in the water. In his eyes was the image of Liang Chu extending his right hand in front of him. The scene shifted to the evening, as night fell, with the moon and stars visible in the sky. Lai Tuzhang had regained consciousness, water flowing from his nose. He panicked when he saw his body tied with a thick rope. Liang Chu sat in front of him, resting his chin on his right hand, his left hand tossing a brown cloth bag in the air, lightly smiling and saying, "You slept well, didn't you?" Lai Tuzhang turned pale and exclaimed, "What do you want?" Liang Chu lifted the cloth bag, shaking it in front of his face, sneering and saying, "It seems that to get me into Xiao Mansion, you must have received quite a benefit. This is at least 2 taels, isn't it?" Lai Tuzhang looked at him in fear and said, "Wait, please let me explain." Meanwhile, Liang Chu turned his head to the left, looking into the distance and said, "Do you recognize the surroundings?" Lai Tuzhang stammered, "Isn't this the place where we caught the water monster that night?" Behind Liang Chu, a large crocodile suddenly appeared, its eyes yellow, and its mouth wide open, revealing long, sharp teeth. Lai Tuzhang looked up, his mouth agape, and said, "Water monster." Liang Chu raised his left hand, gently stroking the crocodile's chin and replied, "It was indeed a water monster, but now it has become my pet." "Didn't you say I was a monster?" Lai Tuzhang trembled as he looked at him and said, "Monster, you really are a monster." He bowed his head repeatedly and pleaded, "Wade, don't eat me, I can tell you everything." He looked at him and said, "Do you see why Zheng Butler wanted me to enter Xiao Mansion? Recently, he's been recruiting so many families." Lai Tuzhang quickly replied, "Those people are all materials for Master Xiao to become an immortal. He needs to refine an immortal pill, and those people have all been taken away to refine the pill." In his mind, he pictured men with strange symbols on their bellies, bound and lying on the ground, surrounded by people dressed in long black robes, their heads completely covered. Liang Chu raised his left hand, rested his chin, and wore a contemplative expression. "It seems that you have captured quite a few innocent people, haven't you?" Lai Tuzhang looked at him, fearfully saying, "It was due to being forced that." In his heart, he secretly thought, "Damn it, one day Xiao Master and his followers will turn you into material for refined pill, making you wish you were dead." He pleaded, "Wade, you see, maybe at that time." Liang Chu held a sharp stone in his hand, which flew through the air towards him, blood splattering. Liang Chu was covered in blood, gripping the stone tightly and saying, "But you have seen it all." His eyes glimmered a light green as he coldly said, "I am one facet of my monster." The body of Lai Tuzhang was dragged into the water by the crocodile monster's claws. Liang Chu thought, "Pulling me into the mansion is for refined pill, if I don't deal with him, I will die." He sat alone on the boat, thinking, "It seems I need to find a strong support to have time to become stronger." Lai Tuzhang was slowly sinking into the water, his belly with strange characters above was vibrating. The record displayed a bag of gold worth 2 taels. The crocodile monster immobilized and the water monkey fusion 5%. One late afternoon with gentle sunlight, in the distance were the overlapping mountain ranges stretching as far as the eye could see. The sky was clear blue, and wispy clouds with a light pink hue were drifting lazily. A white stork was flying overhead of the small boat. The little stork landed on the boat's bow and took a step forward. Suddenly, an arm emerged from the water, gripping the side of the boat firmly, splashing water everywhere, causing the stork to panic and fly up. Liang Chu, soaked to the skin, climbed onto the boat, carrying a large bag on his right shoulder, and on his left shoulder was a small, very cute green crocodile. He smiled at it. He raised his right palm, and a stream of water appeared, silently thinking, having real power is really convenient. He pulled 2 large fish wriggling from the bag and thought, "It's been 3 days since I dealt with Lai Tuzhang. During this time, to hide, I've always pretended to be an ordinary fisherman, going out to sea at dawn and returning late in the evening to sell fish. The lotus pond hasn't been visited anymore." Liang Chu stared blankly at the 2 fish struggling on the boat, his hand pouring another fish from the bag. He worriedly thought, as for this boat, it was also exchanged using Lai Tuzhang. He imagined himself pouting to a gray-haired old man and a man in a brown coat, saying, Lai Tuzhang bullies others. The man in the brown coat clenched his fists in anger and exclaimed, "This damn Lai Tuzhang." He thought about the dark forces, the hidden figures, and pondered. However, the Xiao mansion's power will definitely not let this go easily. Lai Tuzhang's sudden disappearance will surely lead to a clue about me, he contemplatively thought. The only way to protect myself is to become a martial artist faster. He continued his train of thought, and the fastest way to become a martial artist is to join a martial arts school. In Pingyang town, there are 3 martial arts schools, and the strongest one is the Yangshi Martial Arts School. The scene shifted to a large wooden gate with the name Yangshi Martial Arts School. He imagined a man in a fur coat, holding a large sword with a jeweled hilt in his right hand, thinking to himself, "I've heard that the head of the Yangshi Martial Arts School possesses legendary abilities to split gold and crack stones, which is why they can maintain their position." His mind returned to reality, joyfully thinking to himself, "As long as I can join this martial arts school, the Xiao family won't dare to casually touch me." After all, the disappearance of a member from the martial arts school will cause no small trouble for the school. The little crocodile on his shoulder let out a small cry. Liang Chu came to his senses, smiled brightly, turned to look at the little creature, and said affectionately, "That's truly an unnecessary worry." He thought again, "Since the last upgrade, my body has gradually adapted to the growing power, and my mental strength has also increased significantly. Perhaps I can tame an additional 2 to 2.5 immobilized." He stood at the bow of the boat, with the little creature in his right hand and a large bag in his left, gazing into the distance and said, "Let's continue fishing." He dove into the water with the little creature. In the water, he felt that, after awakening, I feel more agile in the water. Liang Chu looked at the little creature swimming in the water and said, "Immobilized, let's continue the competition." Then he realized that, racing against things like immobilized has been my recent training method. The little monster glanced toward Liang Chu. He kicked hard, creating a whirlpool of water around him and thought, "This move is the ability to control water, compressing the water maximally under my feet and then bursting it." He continued to swim in the pitch-black water, pondering as he dove deeper, "The downside is that it is not sustainable and will quickly drain my strength. Temporarily, there is nothing that can keep up." Suddenly, a large fish slid close to him from behind. He jumped and said, "What is that?" Then he watched the pink fish swimming in front of him. Liang Chu exclaimed, "That's Bao Yu." He marveled at the beautiful shape of the pink fish with sharp fins extending from its head to its tail. Images of 3 creatures flashed through his mind. First was a beetle with sharp pincers, second was a 2-headed shark, and finally a whale with golden eyes. Liang Chu thought to himself, "In this world, some species have evolved with special powers. This fish that lives in the swamp is called Bao Yu." He gasped, "There are 2 of them," when he saw a pair of Bao Yu appear right before his eyes, surprised and thinking. Usually, it is very hard to encounter one, but today I saw 2. Suddenly, Liang Chu noticed 2 fish moving in different directions. He looked at his little monster, pointed with his left hand forward, and shouted loudly, "Immobilized, go catch that one." The little monster instantly transformed into a larger form and rushed swiftly towards the pink fish, while he charged towards the other fish. Liang Chu frowned, thinking, "Damn it, I should have brought a fishing net." He once again used the water manipulation technique from earlier and sped after it. He raised his left hand, performing the water control technique, and a water sphere immediately enveloped Bao Yu. He quickly embraced Bao Yu. Liang Chu, with Bao Yu in his arms, smugly laughed and said, "Gotcha." He and the little monster behind him had caught Bao Yu. The achievement board displayed 2 gold tails and 8, with the little crocodile monster immobilized alongside a fei, and a fusion rate of water monkey at 7.5%. He then put it in his pouch and calculated, "Today's harvest is quite good, I can sell it for a decent amount of money." Suddenly, a tentacle wrapped around his waist. Liang Chu couldn't help but be taken aback by the scene before him. The fierce appearance of the monster that knocked Liang Chu down appeared. He couldn't help but cough. The monster approached Liang Chu step by step. Noting the situation in front of him, he wondered to himself, "What is this?" Liang Chu suddenly remembered, I heard that at the bottom of the Yixing River, there is a six-whisker catfish that eats people. What bad luck, and here I am facing it. Seeing its fierce look as it churned the water with electric shocks around, he became even more confused. What move is this? It wants to attack again. Liang Chu raised his hand to activate his power. The system announced, no defense. Immediately, the water bubble created by the monster shattered before its astonished eyes. Liang Chu breathed a sigh of relief. That was dangerous. Luckily, I reacted quickly. However, the monster forcefully knocked Liang Chu down, making him want to curse. Damn, how cunning. Looking at the monster in front of him, he wondered, is it smiling? The monster lunged forward ferociously. Suddenly, a cunning crocodile waved its tail to block him. The cunning crocodile turned around again, directly using its large jaws to bite the neck of the cunning catfish. Liang Chu placed his hand on the stone. Taking advantage of this moment, his wound quickly attracted the cunning catfish closer. He calculated, at this point, if I don't defeat it, I will die. The system then announced a new message, control blood curse. A bright line of runes appeared. He thought to himself, I have enough mental strength, I should be able to subdue it. Ignoring the red alert from the system, Liang Chu still reached out to stop the monster. The system once again presented a notification, warning, the host's actions will lead to mental overload, it is advised that the host cease this action. Insufficient mental strength will cause control of the aquatic beast to be dispersed, please stop immediately, stop right now. Warning, mental strength is approaching a critical level, please halt immediately. Warning, mental overload. He gathered his strength and shouted determinedly. The monster's eyes glimmered with light. But then he became dumbfounded, not knowing what was happening. The boat was still drifting on the water. Liang Chu had just crawled up on the side of the boat. He was panting, phew, finally back. I didn't expect the spirit power of the catfish to be this strong, almost took me out. Liang Chu looked into the distance and sighed, but, he looked at the two monsters below and was glad, the harvest is quite considerable. The system announced a new message, the six-bearded catfish can evolve, and it can consume 800 points of water essence to evolve into a tiger-headed catfish. Liang Chu glanced at it for a while and came up with a new idea, you are as chubby as this, so I'll call you a fei. He continued pouring out the fish to calculate, next, it's time to process some of the results. Liang Chu looked at the crocodile with its mouth open, eating the fish and felt a bit regretful, that's little Bao Yu. He patted the crocodile's head, praising, immobilized, you are truly reliable. The fish harvested today was put into the boat. Liang Chu began to cook the fish over the fire. First, eating a small fish to see if he could enhance his strength. The fish was now just bones. He took a small piece, this small corner will be great as a memento. At that moment, the system announced, water essence plus 18. Seeing this, Liang Chu couldn't help but exclaim, 18 points, the profit can be compared to 18 pieces of spirit essence. He pondered for a moment, if such a small fish gives that much, then a large fish should definitely yield 54 points of water essence after being incubated 3 times. Currently, the fusion rate has reached 7.5%, combined with both large and small fish, it should easily surpass 10%. Liang Chu looked at the fish he had collected and realized, but patience is needed, right now the most important thing is to earn the tuition fees, but maybe this is enough. The system began to analyze, gold 2 tails 8, immobilized, a fei. Swamp summit, water monkey. Fusion rate 7.5%. The scene shifted to the coast city Yixing market. Liang Chu glanced around at the bustling crowd and noticed a few people excitedly discussing, which piqued his curiosity. Last month we just had the Moon Festival, so what celebration is this? At that moment, Chen Jiachang was holding up a fish, and the people around him started shouting, look, this is a Bao Yu, rare and weighing 1 Jin 3 Liang 6 Hua. Seeing this, everyone exclaimed in admiration, Bao Yu, wow, it's real, the little guy from the Chen family really has skills. Although Liang Chu couldn't see because of the crowd in front, he was surprised to hear that, oh, he caught a Bao Yu too. He tried to squeeze into the group surrounding them, asking for some space. Someone quickly recognized him, saying, "Isn't that the little guy from the Liang family? Did he hurry to reincarnate?" Liang Chu then stood by the two fish sellers, pulling out his basket. He cleared his throat a few times and exclaimed, "Our Shan Rao Dak has truly been blessed by the river god, catching 2 Bao Yu in one day." Some people didn't believe it and said, "What nonsense are you talking about? That kid from the Chen family only caught one." Liang Chu then took out from his basket to confirm, "I said the second one is not his." He held up the fish and confidently declared, "It's mine." Seeing this, a few other people rushed in to mock him. "You, haha, a hideous fish like you thinks you can be Bao Yu? You must be planning to sell it for a high price." They all laughed at him. Qin Jie Chang glanced at Liang Chu's fish and snorted. Suddenly, a voice came from behind him. "Oh, isn't that the red snowfish?" Hu Qi arrived with his group. Everyone was surprised. "Isn't that the martial master lord of the Yangshi Dojo? This is real, truly extraordinary presence." He directly asked Qin Jie Chang, "How much are you selling it for?" Qin Jie Chang felt awkward and smartly replied, "My lord, whatever you think is reasonable." Hu Qi asked him, "How much does it weigh?" He replied, "1 catty 7 taels 6. Hearing this, he negotiated. Then, would 3 taels be acceptable? Qin Jie Chang happily agreed. 3 taels. Sell, sell, sell. Liang Chu also took the opportunity to raise the fish in his hand and asked Hu Qi, "My lord, what do you think of my fish?" A few others looked down on him at that moment. "Your turns are up, Liang family's little guy, you are really too shameless to have angered the martial master lord. We will all be dragged down by you, that's right." Hu Qi has seriously observed, "Oh. This is, bull horn bone." Liang Chu confidently replied, "That's right, 1.5 jin, 2 taels 1 flower." He quietly realized, so this is called bull horn bone. Hu Qi started to quote a price, "This one is 6 taels and 5 coins, do you sell it?" Everyone around was immediately astonished, 6 taels and 5 coins. "My goodness, our family hasn't had that much silver in generations." Qin Jie Chang was directly dumbfounded. One of them started maliciously, "Be careful, you may have the means to earn but not the means to spend." On this side, Liang Chu was very pleased and hurriedly said, "Sell, sell." Qin Jie Chang lost interest and took his basket to go home. Liang Chu then sincerely asked Hu Qi, "Lord, I want to ask why my fish can sell for double the price of the red snowfish." He also honestly replied, "The stiff fins of bullhorn bone can be used as medicine, made into honey pills. It has the effect of refining blood qi, helping to resolve blood stasis. Currently, we are facing this difficulty, and it is extremely useful for me." Liang Chu suddenly realized, "So that's it, thank you, Lord." He felt a bit emotional inside. Fortunately, that little fish's hard scale is still preserved. The evening glow painted the rooftops. Liang Chu counted the money in his pocket, 6, 7, 8. Suddenly, a shadow appeared over him. Li Li Bo joyfully draped his arm over Liang Chu's shoulder and praised him, "Well done, little guy, you have truly brought honor to our little town." Recognizing who had come, he shyly replied, "It's you, I haven't had the chance to thank you properly that day." Upon hearing this, the boy smugly said, "Then give me 6 liang." Upon hearing this, Liang Chu made a face at him. "Dream on." He then asked the boy, "Oh right, let me ask you, do you know how much the recruitment fee for Yangshi Martial Arts School is?" The boy nudged him and confidently replied, "You asked the right person, my dad is planning to enroll me there." Li Li Bo continued to elaborate. "The dojo of the old man Yang charges 7 liang of silver, excluding accommodation. 10 liang includes lodging, and 20 liang includes both lodging and a medicinal bath, with food and drink costs calculated separately. Although it is slightly more expensive compared to 2 other places, it is worth it for the higher professionalism and reputation." Liang Chu couldn't help but smile as he recalled, 7 liang. These days, adding to the donation, plus the 5 liang from today's sales and 131 from the fish caught, I have 9 liang in 2 su, that's enough. He directly stood up and informed the boy, then let's go register together tomorrow. Li Bo couldn't help but tease him, huh? So you're a big shot, huh? Then it's no problem. Suddenly, a strange voice echoed in Liang Chu's ear. Discovery of Bao Yu. He immediately became alert and turned to look. Huh? A sign appeared clearly stating Xiao Mansion. The man reported gravely, this Lai Tu Zhang is currently unknown in location, but the clue leads to a kid named Liang Chu. The mysterious figure, upon hearing this, disdainfully gave orders. Such a small matter doesn't need to trouble me every day, solve it yourself. Upon hearing this, he furrowed his brow tightly, his expression dark. That evening, on the small boat in the middle of the river, Liang Chu began to showcase his skilled talent. He quickly sliced the tender bamboo shoots, adjusted the fire, and added them to the pot. After a moment, when he saw the fish soup was just right, he lifted the lid and looked at the delicious pot of fish soup, feeling a sense of satisfaction. Without hesitation, Liang Chu served a bowl, took a sip, and the wonderful flavor made him feel like he was soaring high in the clouds, excitedly exclaiming, delicious. Next to him, a Fei and Immobilized were drooling in anticipation. Seeing this, Liang Chu generously tossed some food into the water for the two little ones and said, come on, you two have a bite too. At that moment, the system displayed, water essence plus 24. He clenched his fist, feeling emotional, no wonder it's Bao Yu, the water essence is truly generous. Along with that, his physical strength also increased significantly. Liang Chu looked down at a Fei, smiled, and said, this time is really a stroke of luck, a Fei has found another Bao Yu. Suddenly, he patted his thigh in excitement, that's right. It's time to level up. Last time you scored 18 points, and this time you added another 24 points. Without waiting any longer, you pressed the training button. In front of you, a spirit beast appeared brightly behind you. You looked at your palm with excitement, feeling the power surge continuously. Soon after, the system displayed a series of statistics and newly updated skills. Overjoyed, Liang Chu threw a punch into the air and laughed loudly, it would be great if someone came to spar right now. You snapped your fingers, and the surface of the water immediately transformed, sweeping a Fei up. Seeing that scene, Liang Chu said with delight, my ability to control water has increased significantly. You continued to observe a Fei, noticing that simply feeding it a few scraps had significantly reduced the amount of essence needed for evolution. The system displayed, the water control beast Tai Hua Croc consumed 779 points of water essence and can evolve into Jia Mu Croc. Liang Chu took out an item, looking at it with skepticism, this thing is really strange, did someone create it, or did it come into existence naturally? You kept pondering and observed more closely. On one side, the item resembled a dragon, and on the other side, there was a gigantic monkey. Above them were images of gods, one god with a human head and a snake body, and a great emperor wearing a mysterious black cloak. After pondering for a moment, he tightened his grip on it, telling himself, enough, thinking too much right now is pointless. Liang Chu's eyes were filled with determination, tomorrow I can go to the martial arts school, I must quickly become stronger to deal with the Xiao family. Time passed slowly, and before long, morning arrived. Liang Chu and Li Bo sat at the back of a truck heading to another location. Li Bo was excited, raising his hand and shouting loudly, let's go. After a while, he impatiently asked the coachman, how much longer until we arrive? It felt like his first time stepping into the world, everything was new to Li Bo. He shook Liang Chu's shoulder, excitedly saying, Liang Chu, look over there. Liang Chu simply turned his gaze in that direction, indifferent. Eventually, the two arrived in Pingyang town. Before getting off the carriage, Li Bo happily greeted the coachman. The first place they stopped was a shop nearby, and Liang Chu, feeling disheartened, watched as Li Bo shed tears of joy over just a few steamed buns. They then went to the mannequin booth, curiously observing people creating statues. Next, they stopped by the martial arts demonstration, watching an impressive stone-breaking performance that captivated everyone's admiration. In contrast to the bustling atmosphere, in a corner of the town, a rugged, grim man spoke up, are you saying that little guy will really pass here? The man across from him crossed his arms and responded with a sly grin, "Of course, I heard him tell the Li family's little guy that he would come to register at the Yangshi martial arts school today." He pointed to the two guys beside him and continued, "This little guy sold fish yesterday and made a profit of 6 taels and 5 coins. Do you know how much money that is? You couldn't even buy it if you sold your wife." One man anxiously warned, 6 taels and 5 coins. We could get caught by the authorities. He scoffed, "What do you understand? Such a large sum given to a martial arts school would be wasteful. We are helping him manage his finances." That group of people stood in front of the alley discussing, "This path is a mandatory route to the martial arts school, and right now it's deserted. This is indeed a great opportunity." At that moment, Liang Chu and Li Bo had just arrived. A man stepped into the middle of the road and spoke up, "Stop talking, they're here." Li Bo, full of excitement, waved his fists and asked, "Wade, I've finished learning. How many people do you think I can take on?" Liang Chu replied indifferently, "I don't know." Deep down, he was also uncertain. "With my current strength, I don't know how many I can defeat. If I could take down a few." Suddenly, a man rushed out and shouted, "Hey, you in the red shirt." Right after, another sneered triumphantly, letting out a cold laugh, "Little guy, we meet again. Hand over all the money you have." He continued to mock, "You can choose to give up the money, or my brothers here will make sure you end up lying on the roadside." The men beside him immediately laughed in agreement. Liang Chu simply looked at them and smirked, "Oh. Then I guess I'll choose to have you all lying on the roadside instead." According to the system display, he had a total of 9 taels and 2 coins of gold, immobilized, a fey, and even Swamp Summit water monkey with a compatibility rate of 17%. At that moment, the thugs charged forward, fists raised, yelling, "You're asking for death." But before they could even land a hit, one of them was already sent flying by a devastating punch from Liang Chu. Seeing this, the accomplices rushed in from behind, shouting, "Little guy." In the end, like brothers in arms, he received an elbow to the face. After that, he added a soft punch to the head, making him whimper. Then, taking advantage of the momentum, he threw him towards his teammate. The latter stared in horror at the brother, but before he could look for long, everything went dark before his eyes. At that moment, Liang Chu lightly punched him back to Mother Earth. Witnessing the scene, Li Bo gasped in astonishment, "So fast. 9 blows and the battle is over." Liang Chu also couldn't believe his eyes, intently looking at his palm, then clenched it tightly, breathing a sigh of relief. "Indeed, my physical abilities have increased significantly." Behind him, Li Bo came up, curious and asking, "When did you become so strong, and yet still need to apprentice?" Hearing this, he chuckled awkwardly and replied, "Maybe I am a genius." At this point, Liang Chu changed the subject, turning on his heel and saying, "Let's go, or we'll miss the enrollment time." Li Bo clearly didn't believe it, looking at him with a probing gaze. At this time, on the side of the Yangshi martial arts school, as they just entered, Xiang Chang Song smiled and introduced himself, "I am Xiang Chang Song." The 2 junior brothers can call him Xiang senior brother. They both politely replied in unison, "Hello Xiang brother." He enthusiastically guided them, saying, "Please follow me, and I will take you to another instructor for assessment and detailed explanations about martial artists." Upon arrival, Chang Song pointed and said, "This is Hu's senior brother, who will teach you. He is a direct disciple of Master Yang." Liang Chu questioned, "Is he the martial master lord who bought fish that day?" At this point, Hu Chi turned to look at the 2 of them and said warmly, "So it's you." Chang Song curiously asked, "Is it a coincidence that Hu's senior brother knows the 2 junior brothers?" He replied, "The snow-horned bull I used to level up was bought from this little junior brother's stall." Upon hearing this, he pointed at Hu Chi and continued, "That's great. You should follow Hu's senior brother to learn martial arts. You can stay overnight at the martial arts school tonight." The 2 of them bowed in greeting, saying, "Hello Hu's senior brother." He turned around and gestured, "Junior brothers, follow me, and next I will check the roots and bones of the 2 of you." Liang Chu repeated in confusion, "Roots bones." Hu Chi laughed heartily, reassuring him, "Don't be too tense. It's just about using roots bones to choose the right major." He looked at him and asked, we still don't know what martial path is. We want to consult senior brother about the specific principles. Hearing this, he stroked his chin, pondering for a long while before replying, the principle, the foundation of the martial path is divided into 4 stages: skin, flesh, bones, and blood. When mentioning the skin stage, it is tough like cowhide, flexible and resistant to tearing, significantly enhancing defense. As for the flesh stage, it greatly increases strength, making it easy to lift someone with one hand, while the skeletal structure further releases power, shattering rocks and breaking stones. Finally, the blood stage is the embellishment on the brocade, providing comprehensive enhancement. At this point, Hu Qi spoke seriously. In fact, the core is the concept of training. However, ordinary people, no matter how they train, will hit a limit. To break through this limit, 2 elements are essential: law and medicine. This can be understood as the need to cultivate knowledge and supplement things that are beneficial for the upgrading process. At this point, Li Bo's eyes widened in disbelief, questioning further, law and medicine. Hu Qi elaborated, that's right, the law refers to the divine sect. For example, like the Tam Fist technique of our Yangshi martial arts school, with the divine sect, you have a ladder to climb. Hearing this, Liang Chu concluded in his mind, it must be something similar to a skill. He then asked, what about the medicine? Hu Qi added, the divine sect is the ladder to rise, but this ladder is steep and dangerous. You need handrails to go up quickly and steadily. And the handrails are the medicine. He eagerly provided another example, the cod you sell is the medicine we need. At this point, Liang Chu understood clearly, feeling secretly happy, great, with the swamp summit, I can easily get these things. Hu Qi maintained his advising tone, the 2 junior brothers need not rush, the martial path is long, and you should first pay attention to your own steps. Liang Chu then extended his hand towards him, saying, thank you, senior brother, please check our roots and bones. Not far away, while the 2 were not paying attention, a group of people was secretly plotting. The blue-haired man, Lu Yen Kai, cunningly said to the person next to him, young master Xiao San, the person you mentioned is him. The person replied, that's right, you just need to drive these 2 people out of the dojo. It was Zhao Shuiyuan, who gloomily looked at Liang Chu with intense killing intent. Continuing, he said, about what you mentioned, I can decide to help you. In another place, in the study room, 2 people reported back. Master, this boy Liang Chu is only 15 years old, he is indeed excellent material for refining pills. His age is similar to the 3rd young master, and he is also an orphan. At that point, he paused. As long as he can be trained to make pills, Zhao young master's body. The old man Zhao agreed and continued, Yuan heir has been weak since childhood, and now finding a dual cultivation partner is really difficult. This Liang Chu is truly the best material. Outside, a figure silently eavesdropped on the conversation inside. The old man Zhao said again, but I heard this little guy intends to join the Yangshi dojo. With Yang Dongxiong's personality, we might find it hard to take action. After a while, the butler spoke up, then master, I will take my leave. At this moment, the person picked up the photo of Liang Chu that the butler had dropped, and with deep eyes said, I must obtain the immortal pill and escape from the mortal world. Whoever stands in our way, without saying much, he crumpled the paper and said with a growl, die. On the other side, Li Bo was horrified, pointing at Liang Chu and shouting, I didn't expect this little guy to be the best roots bones I only have at the mid-upper level. Saying this, he became angry, stomping his feet and shouting, conspiracy. Liang Chu, feeling depressed, interrupted, this is talent. Li Bo ran behind, breathing heavily, called out, wait for me. As he walked, he replied, hurry to the martial arts arena. Li Bo exclaimed in surprise, huh. On the way, the 2 encountered Chen Jiechang. Upon seeing him, he couldn't believe it and said, Chen Jiechang. Li Bo boldly approached him and asked, why are you here? He replied without backing down, why can't I be here? If you can come, why can't I? The 2 of them continued to start a verbal spar, little guy, what's up? Do you want to fight? At this point, Liang Chu stepped in to mediate, pulling both of them apart, we are all fellow townsmen, forget it, forget it. Then he looked at Jie Chang and greeted, "Hello Jie brother." He just hummed in response. At this moment, Liang Chu thought, Chen Jie Chang is also from Yixing City, 2 years older than me, and he is a famous fisherman in town with a good relationship with the former boss. After thinking, he said again, "Jie brother, are you also here to practice martial arts?" At this moment, he clenched his fist and replied seriously, "That's right. In today's world, who doesn't want to have great strength? So the last time I sold all the fish and gathered enough money, I came here." Liang Chu smiled and added, "Then let's go to the training hall to participate in the practice, senior brother who is already over there being taught." Li Bo hurriedly said, that's right, if we don't go now, we won't be able to participate anymore." By the arena, everyone was practicing hard, their punches filled with power. Everyone had a strong physique and was training seriously, but Li Bo seemed to be struggling, his face contorted. Not only he but also Liang Chu and Jie Chang were the same. At this moment, Hu Qi raised his hand to signal for a break, then looked at them and said, "Everyone can take a short break now, in the afternoon, Lu will guide everyone to continue practicing." The three of them were breathing heavily, leaning against the tree trunk. Li Bo couldn't hold back anymore and spoke up, "I'm so tired, I'm starting to want to give up." Jie Chang just smirked, coldly huffing, "Useless person." Suddenly, someone mocked, "I'm still wondering where the fishy smell is coming from." Across from them, Lu Yankai clenched his teeth, looking at them with disdain, "The stench is unbearable, can't you get a little further away?" From behind, Xueding Yi added, "That's right, are these three born from a fish's belly?" Yankai suddenly raised his hand signaling, smirking as he continued, "Everyone give us 2 liang, and we'll let these 3 stay here." Li Bo couldn't restrain himself and rushed forward, but Jie Chang managed to stop him in time, "Calm down, don't cause trouble for Hu's senior brother." On Liang Chu's side, he uncomfortably thought, "With my current strength, I can't deal with these 3. Yan Kai certainly wouldn't let it go, he moved his limbs, darkly saying, "What? Do you want to exchange a few moves? Come here, I'm just about to break through the bottleneck and want to try my skills." Liang Chu understood the main point and quietly considered. Why be pessimistic if it's in the middle of the river? Li Bo was truly infuriated to the extreme and cursed, "Disgusting." But suddenly someone behind them spoke, which startled the 3 of them. "Lu Yankai, what are you 3 doing?" It was Hu Qi, who irritably pointed inside and commanded, "If you have nothing to do, go stand over there for half an hour." Yankai directed a sharp gaze at them, grinding his teeth in warning, "Consider yourself lucky, little guy, but there's no place here for cowards." At this moment, Hu Qi shouted coldly, "Can't you hear?" He obediently answered upon arriving, "Coming, Hu's senior brother." Li Bo behind them signaled while cursing, "Damn it, that bastard." Jie Chang calmly said, "All right, cursing behind their backs is useless." Liang Chu was quietly contemplating, "It's still about strength, I have to make sure to grow stronger." Thinking this, he said, "Li Bo, Jie brother, I need to go home for a bit." Without giving them a chance to respond, he dashed away, "Please help me excuse my absence this afternoon." Li Bo, confused, asked, "What's wrong with Wade?" Jie Chang was unclear and answered, "Who knows?" Liang Chu ran with anxiety, the lotus field was in danger, there were enemies, this was what helped us become strong from within, nothing could happen. A day later, it was already dark, and Li Bo and Jie Chang were on their way back to their resting place. Li Bo looked up and sighed, it had been a day, but the little guy Liang Chu still hadn't returned. Jie Chang crossed his arms and replied, "The emperor isn't in a hurry, the eunuch probably has his own matters." As soon as he said that, the two began to argue. Li Bo gritted his teeth and shouted angrily, "Are you provoking me?" He rolled up his sleeves and retorted in anger, "Little guy, you really deserve a beating." Both suddenly stopped when they heard an unusual sound. The person clapped excitedly, "It seemed that today the heavens had opened their eyes, allowing me to encounter the 2 of you." It was Yan Kai, he grinned and added, "There won't be Hu's senior brother to back you up today." Li Bo hated him, gritting his teeth and growling, "It's you." Yan Kai was not alone but had a group of people behind him. He seemed confident of victory and replied, "Look, do we have 2 pests here?" The sky has turned to night, and the wind blows through the reeds. At the bottom of the lake, a blue crab has appeared. Liang Chu is also present down here, standing firmly on a fei and immobilized. Liang Chu's gaze is resolutely fixed ahead. Currently, immobilized and a fei have nearly reached the brink of strength, yet they are still able to make two beasts wary and send messages to me. What on earth is it? Suddenly realizing something, he quickly hides behind a tree. They've arrived. Just a second later, the bottom of the lake is nearly filled with countless deep indentations. Damn, the one who can make these markings must be enormous. Behind him, a fei and immobilized unexpectedly revert to mini form. Before Liang Chu stands a strange object that astonishes him. Last time after eating Baoyu, the fusion level reached 11.7, and the amount of water I could control increased to 70 pounds. More importantly, my sensing ability in the water has expanded by another meter. Now I can gather information underwater within a range of up to 6 meters. A look of horror fills his eyes at the sight before him. A massive, pitch-black figure with red eyes. What is that? Is this the monster? Looking at the two sharp serrated claws, Liang Chu couldn't help but exclaim, is this a crab? It was a giant, bizarre crab that looked very frightening. This one is way too big. Facing this crab monster made Liang Chu break out in a sweat. He thought to himself, with such a massive body, could it have already become a spirit? According to Hu Jiaotian, monsters that surpass the common level in this world are called spirits. Given its size, it must indeed be a spirit. Then he turned his gaze to immobilized. It's not that it's not strong, otherwise, immobilized and a fei wouldn't have had a chance to escape. Deep down, Liang Chu was still filled with doubts. Can I do it? I don't have any plan. He gripped the iron rod tightly in his hand. To become strong, it really requires following my own plan, but this. Memories gradually emerged in Liang Chu's mind. You, monster. Then there was the contemptuous gaze, just like your father, so ignorant. Finally, there was the smug expression of Lu Yan Kai, there's no place here for cowardly fools like you. Back to reality, Liang Chu propped himself up and took a stance. But surprises and dangers have always been linked to my life. He has nothing left to lose. For things that can change one's life, one must take risks. Significant events happen by chance, while unimportant things are meticulously planned. Therefore, Liang Chu was even more determined to grip the iron rod firmly and summon his strength. I refuse to accept this. What is in my grasp does not have the habit of being handed over to others. Liang Chu's face darkened. Lai Tuzhang wanted to take my life, and so he is dead. His gaze revealed a resolute determination, never to give up. You want to seize my lotus fields, then let's see who has more skill. After that, a fei and immobilized grew larger. From that moment, he rushed forward, preparing to fight. All three charged in at once to launch their cunning attack. In another scene, one guy had just received a punch that left him with a distorted mouth, sprawled out on the ground. It turned out that it was because Lu Yan Kai was exceptionally arrogant. You are quite tough, how is your fellow countryman doing? Taking advantage of his unguarded moment, Li Bo grabbed a brick. Just like that, he decisively delivered a smashing blow. Off to your grandfather's house you go. Despite suffering a pretty painful hit, this guy was still quite resilient, grinning broadly. Then, he stepped again on Li Bo's pitiful face. He glared threateningly and said, I think both of you deserve to die today. He then glanced over at his subordinates, you three go guard the gate for me, I want to slowly torture these two. All three of the dirty, ugly guys replied in unison, yes. At that moment, Li Bo on the ground angrily swung his fist, wanting to throw a punch, damn it. But he was easily blocked by the guy. Not only that, the guy also twisted Li Bo's arm back in a very painful way. His victorious expression was truly unpleasant. His mouth was no better than any other thug's, damn it, you talk too much. Keep talking. Then he pulled the head of another guy, and your eyes have some spirit. Crazy. With an utterly despicable expression, he said, "I will pluck out these eyes of yours, so those two hounds can train." Li Bo beside him could do nothing but yell to stop this crazy guy. "Damn it, stop it." Our eyes met, touching each other, touching that finger. Oh my God, I thought it was just a joke, who knew it would be real? All of a sudden, a loud scream echoed, covered in a stream of red, and brother, you probably know it wasn't a joke. Just as it was all over, a loud voice finally rang out, "Stop."